Now I think I got it right. greetings. Comment vous. Je vais très bien and merci. Merci. Hey, we'd like to welcome all of you to We Talk. All of you who are new, we're glad to have you. And all of the people who are normally with us, you know that we love to have you with us. So before we get started, everyone knows this is grown and sexy. So the first thing you got to do is have your drink. So here's to everybody on our live right here. All right. All right, before I get started, you know I got to kind of recap what we did last time. For everybody who missed it, we talked about white supremacy last time and why do they feel that they're superior to other people. Now, if you missed it, you can go on my Facebook and check it out because we leave it posted for 30 days. But anyway, before we get into our topic tonight, and we've got a doozy for you, we're going to be talking about happiness and purpose. And I know it's something that we don't often think about, but there's a big difference. So before I get too far into it, let me bring my co-host on so that we can get it started. I'm going to tell you, you want to stick around because you're going to learn something. This is very, very informative. If I can get my microphone right. But I think you're going to enjoy it. So hold on. All right. So we got Miss O'Neill. Miss O'Neill, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. All right. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I had to turn the camera on, so you won't be fussing at me.
Well, you ain't got it on yet.
Well, it's coming. It's coming. Hold on now.
All right. All right.
Now you see me like that commercial with them phones. Can you see me? Can you see me? That's what the rock
I can
said.
see you now.
Okay.
Hey, Keith, what's happening, man? I'm trying to get you in, too. I tried to hit you, but
I
it
see
didn't.
him right there. He's on. I see him
Oh,
right
let
there.
me in today.
Oh, it let you in. That's what's
I don't know
happening.
I don't know what's going on.
Him.
I learned a
to
lot
school
about
him.
TikTok, and apparently there's a follower requirement for you to create a live. You know what I'm saying? And last week it told me I didn't have live settings, but just now when I went on your page or while I'm on here, I'm looking and driving at the same time, and it said unlock live access, and I don't know what that did. I clicked it, and then you sent me the message, and it came up. So I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, it's quite different from Facebook, I guess, but we gonna
It's
get through it either way.
totally different. So we in. There we go.
Yeah,
I had to school him and tell him he can go live on somebody else. He can.
Well,
cool.
I did the same thing last week. It didn't let me in, so I don't know what happened. But maybe, you know what I'm saying? Maybe because I've been on the app for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it unlocked something. Because anyway, we here. Let's get it.
Yeah. And just so everybody don't think that I'm ignoring you, if you sent me a invite to come live, I haven't forgotten you, but we've got a format, and we'll go ahead and get you on if time permits. But we want to get into our discussion. If you are new, we have a 3-panel discussion on topics that are relevant to life, and we have difference of opinions, and we want to make sure that we communicate our message and get this information out to everyone. Okay? So don't think that I'm ignoring you. We know you're there, and just stick around. All right? Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, last week we talked about white supremacy and why they think they're superior. And man, I'm telling you, we got a lot of feedback from that. And I hope that you all go check the live out because it will shed some information and give you a different insight on white supremacy and the reasons that they think that they're superior. There are no indicators scientifically, intellectual, physical, or any other way that supports that belief. But it's real, so that's what we talk about. But anyway, let's get on with it. Man, and this is going to be nice because I think it's something that people often confuse. Listen, first of all, we want to know, can we truly be happy without a purpose? Or do you have to have a purpose in life to be happy? And furthermore, does everyone have a purpose? Those are the questions that we have to answer before we start tackling this subject. And what is the difference between happiness and your purpose? All right, let me get it started. Man, this TikTok is something different, man. I love it because it got all kind of banners that flash across. It's got the little ticks when people come in. So I'm loving it. I mean, it's totally different, and I think it's a lot user friendly. Although we had a great following in Facebook, we had to come over here and just try it, and I think that we're going to be here for a while. But without further ado, let me get to it. Being happy and our purpose is something that we don't often think about because we think that the two are interchangeable, which they are not. It's important to know the difference so that you can be successful in life. If you know the difference between purpose and happiness, you can be successful. If you don't know the difference, there's no way you can be successful because you're confusing an emotion to something that's very real, and the realism of how we live in this world is what gets us ahead of people who don't have that realization. All right? And it's very important to separate the two. All right? We all want a purpose-fulfilled life, a purpose-filled life, a life that's filled with purpose. We all want that. And we also want a life filled with happiness. I don't think nobody would disagree with that. But to do that, we have to know. We have to know the pursuit of happiness, being happy, is a byproduct of fulfilling our purpose. Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of people think that just because they're happy and whatever they're doing excites them, that that's their purpose. And that's not the case. Being happy is a byproduct of fulfilling your purpose. All right? The question of our purpose is a fundamental question. And I mean, it's been researched by philosophers for many, many centuries. Because everybody from the beginning of time wants to know what the purpose of man is here on earth. Is it to get all the riches we can, get all the women we can, build all the wealth? All of those things have been debunked. All right? Although there's no single universal acceptable answer for what your purpose is. Our purpose is seen as a personal and evolving journey. Our purpose is seen as a personal, which it only concerns us, and evolving, which means that it grows and it changes, it turns into something else. Those are the two perspectives that we evaluate our purpose. If you think about it, as a young person, the things that are important to you and the things that make you happy are totally different from when you become an older person. So that just shows you that evolution is an ongoing process of finding your purpose. Now, a lot of people may believe, okay, it's what I enjoy doing. No, that's not necessarily true. Just because you enjoy it doesn't necessarily mean that it's part of your purpose. It can make you happy if you enjoy doing it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's your purpose. So I want to be clear. I want to make sure that we understand this because this is very important for success and so that you can evaluate yourself in the world that we live in. If we think that we are fulfilling our purpose simply because we're happy, we've been misguided. And we're going to talk about what happiness is versus what your purpose is. Now, one, from a religious perspective, many beliefs center around love, service, um, and following God's plan. They believe that it is centered around love, service, which is doing for others and also doing for yourself, and following God's plan. The other focus in, in purpose is on self realization, experiencing a full range of human emotions, or finding meaning through relationships and our contributions in this life. All right? Now, you have to understand that when you're focused on self realization, realizing who you are, where you come from, what your intent in this life is, you're working toward your purpose. Happiness. Now, I don't want to get into that. Do you all want to add something real quick before I really get to the meat, the nuts and bolts of this thing? I guess not. All right. So let me continue on. For some people, purpose is connected to our vocation. In other words, it's connected to our job. Our meaningful and satisfying work. That's what a lot of people believe. It's connected to the work that you do. And I can disprove that in a lot of different cases. For others, their purpose lies in their responsibilities to their family or their friends. A lot of people believe that their purpose is directly tied to the responsibilities they have to their families and or their friends. Now that makes a lot of sense, a little bit of sense, because the people around you are the ones who you are in close proximity to, and those are the ones that you want to make sure that they are happy and that they're successful and that they enjoy their lives. So I can see how your purpose can be directly related to your family members and even your friends around you. On the other hand, some think that your purpose has meaning of purpose through spirituality or religious beliefs. We have a lot of people who have religious beliefs that preempt anything else in their life. And let me know, there's a difference between religion and spirituality. I, for one, I am spiritual. I'm not religious. All my life, as a young person, as all of you, when you were younger, you were religious because you took on the practices of your family members. I mean, when you're 3 or 4 years old, you have to do what your parents or grandparents or whoever raised you tell you to do. And you practice in the way that they practice their religion and all of their beliefs. You adopt those. So within your family, you form your values, your beliefs, and part of what you assume to be your purpose. Now, some people may find their purpose clearly expressed in all of these things. Some people, spirituality, their jobs, their vocations, all of that ties to their purpose. Now, let me point this part out, because I said that there are two totally different things. Happiness and purpose are totally different, okay? But understand, happiness and fulfilling your purpose, they can sometimes overlap, but they're never the same thing. Even if they're overlap, your happiness and your purpose are not the same thing.
Um, I was having some technical difficulties before. I was
Okay. Well, you
when I
back
was
with us
trying to
now, so we're
when
glad
I was
that you're
trying
here.
to chime in, but for me, when we talk about purpose and happiness and all of that stuff, I always tell people that's my why. That's the why. The purpose is the why. Why I'm here. Why I'm put in a certain place at a certain time, or why I'm doing things the way I'm doing them at a certain time. It's all by design. Nothing is by mistake. That's my new motto now. Every everything happens by design and nothing happens by mistake. And my happiness happens to be the reward of me fulfilling my purpose, of me doing what I'm supposed to do. Because a lot of times we do things and we wonder like, well, why isn't it working out right? And working out right doesn't necessarily mean something is happening wrong. It could just have a little off feel. It could just be feeling a little off. You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes
Exactly.
that's because we deviate from the why. We deviate from the reasons, or we deviate from the true reasons. You can't be selfish when you start talking about your purpose. You can't be selfish when you start talking about your happiness and things like that. So for me, I have to remember that the why is my purpose, and why I'm here and why I'm doing it, as I said. And then my happiness is the reward from me truly walking in my purpose, being within my purpose unselfishly, and without wavering. We can't be afraid, just like with faith. You can't be afraid to do certain things. Faith and purpose and all that. That's an intertwining thing for me. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but that's just how I look at the whole thing.
All right. Well, we all know, I think, we know what happiness is. We all think that we know what happiness is. But the clinical definition is that happiness is a positive emotional state. Happiness is a positive emotional state. There's nothing negative that's going to make you happy. It has to be a positive emotional state, a feeling of joy, pleasure, contentment, and peace. That's what happiness is. Now, the nature of happiness is it is often temporary. Happiness is often temporary and can come from anything. It can
That's why
come
happiness is a choice.
exactly, exactly. It's all about your perspective and how you process and live your life based on the events that happen take place in your life. But it can come from anything large or small. Things like a good meal. A good meal can bring you happiness, or laughter with friends. That can bring you happiness, or just a sunny day. That can make you happy. The source of happiness comes in two forms. It can be something external, something good that happens, or internal, choosing gratitude or experiencing love. It can come, happiness comes in two forms. External, and those are the things outside of your emotional state, and internal, choosing gratitude. I mean, just think about it. Eating your favorite dessert can make you happy. For that moment, if you crave for some butter pecan ice cream, and the moment you get it, that can make you happy. But that feeling is going to fade. It's not going to stay with you forever. That's external happiness. Feeling grateful for even having a meal to eat. That can make you happy as well. And that's a form of internal happiness. Now, so we can go on and on about happiness. I'm pointing out the clinical definition because I know that there are a lot of people who confuse the two. They feel like as long as I'm happy, then I must be fulfilling my purpose. And that's not true. Anything, large or small, can make us happy. it can make us happy. But the key thing to remember is that it is a temporary feeling. It is temporary. No one is happy in this lifetime, at least nobody that I know, 24/7, 7 days a week. It's valleys and peaks. It goes up and it goes down. But it's part of our normal human experience. Now, so let's get on to purpose. Fulfilling our purpose is something totally different. It is totally different than happiness. It is living in alignment with what you believe you're meant to do and be. Is living in alignment with what you believe you're meant to do or be. Now, we have to put things in perspective. We have to understand how we know things and how we believe things. There's no need to believe something if you know it, right? If you already know something, belief that becomes, it does not enter your mind. It's not a question. Do you know God exists? That's one question. No, we don't. So we have to believe and have faith. Do I know I'm a man? Yes. I don't have to believe that. I know that. So you see, there's a distinct difference between believing and knowing. I point that out because part of your purpose is aligning properly and living in that alignment with what you believe you're supposed to be doing or what you're supposed to be in life. Take a ball player, right? If a basketball player has a talent, right? Everybody can physically observe his talent when he plays. Now, that ball player may have the idea that he wants to be a doctor or he wants to do something else outside of that. So if he believes that he should be a physician versus a ball player, whether or not he's 7, 8 foot tall, then he's living and trying to align himself with his purpose. Does that make sense? Because anybody can walk in the gym, and if you
Don't
see
make perfect sense.
you see someone who's 7 foot tall, you say, oh yeah, he can ball, or he should be playing basketball. And we're doing that based on our perception and what we perceive based on one external factor, which is his height. Now, ordinarily, and if we're using common sense, someone who is 7 foot tall should be playing basketball. At least that's what we believe. And all the indicators are around us because you don't find too many people outside of Spud Webb and Muggsy Bogues, those guys who are 5 foot playing pro basketball. It doesn't mean that they can't play. So we have to definitely look at the external factors that influence our purpose. And we have to look at external factors that influence our happiness as well. So we don't live in a world of fictitiousness or things that are unreal and have unrealistic expectations. Now, when you live in your purpose, it encompasses your values, your passions, and your strengths. That's why I gave the example of the basketball player. He may be 7 foot tall, but he may have an IQ of 180. We can't determine that. He determines his alignment with his purpose based on his belief. So if he believes that he should be a doctor versus playing basketball, then that's part of living in alignment with his purpose. I give you that example. When I was in Germany and I was putting together a basketball team, I get a guy that walked in my office because I was a personnel NCO, so I was the first person that they saw to end process. All right. So when I saw him, I said, "Oh man, we finna have a good squad this year, right?" And we were missing a center. We had some gunners, we had some shooters, and we had some cats that were really skilled, but we didn't have a center guy that was that tall. So when I approached him, the first thing he said to me was this. So I know that he probably got it at every military installation he went to. When I asked him that question, I said, "Hey man, you want to play ball?" I said, we got a pretty good team here, and we can use you in the center position. The first thing he said to me was that I'm non-athletic. He said, "I can't play no sport." So I'm looking at this cat, and I'm like, man, if I was 6'9", man, I'd be the next Michael Jordan. But that's just goes to show you that you have to determine what your purpose is, and it has to be aligned with what you believe. All right. Now, I would argue that it has something to do with talent. You have to have some talent when you're pursuing your purpose in life. Because I could want to be the best, scientist, astronaut. I may not have the academics or the intellectual capacity to do that. So it has to align with some of your talent. You have to be smart enough. And more important than that, you have to believe in it. Go ahead.
I
No,
was just,
go ahead, DeJoya.
no, go ahead.
No, I'm glad I waited to say anything because I would have stole your thunder. So, but
Yeah.
I'll just say it this way. I'll give it to DeJoya. First of all, purpose, being in your purpose and happiness are two different things, like what you said. Because if you're living in your purpose, if it's a purpose that is something that you got to grow into, which most of us do, there's going to be a lot of pain and sacrifice and a lot of things that go into that. And that ain't fun all the time. Let's just be real about it, right? And the bigger the things that you're chasing, there's going to be more, in some instances, more downs than ups, right? So you got to learn how to make those failures successes by your perspective. And you realize that every failure you got along the way of your purpose, if you are following the mission and you're one with it and you're a congruent person, you know that all those failures are going to add up. And you don't need 100 successes. You just need a few good ones, which can set you on a path that's way on a whole nother level. A lot of people think that successful people, they win all the time. In their mind, they win all the time because they don't quit till they win. So,
Right.
but do they win every day? No. Do they take L's? Yeah. And the higher level that people are at, the more L's that they take. And I think that's what you're getting into. But their happiness doesn't come from whether they won or lost. Their happiness comes from they know that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And they know that ultimately they're going to manifest what it is they're trying to manifest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they get reward. I put a post up on Facebook. If you're not willing to fail, then you're not ready to be successful. If you don't take the chance and if you don't fail, you're not ready for success, because success involves a whole conglomerate of different factors. And here's the thing that most people miss: they feel that all your failures are directly related to yourself, and they're not. There are some things, environmental, resources. There are a lot of things that cause failure that doesn't have anything to do with you. But as Keith just said, people who are successful, they believe in what they're doing, so they don't quit. So in their mind, absolutely, I'm one of those people. I don't. If someone, my belief is one person can do it, I can do it. I don't care what it is. I may not be as good, but I can do it, and I can do it to a level where it's not embarrassing. That's just my belief. But if you're not willing to fail, then you're not ready to be successful. That's just a fact of life. There's no people who are successful that did not fail. None. I don't care. We got multimillionaires who inherited all kinds of money and resources, and you would be appalled to believe that some of them failed because they've had everything above what you had. So we make our comparisons with that individual based on where we are in our life. So we don't know all the external and internal influences that causes people to fail or succeed. We look at people who are in a different place, different space than we are, and we look at ourselves and say, man, if I had all of that, or if I had that opportunity, I would surely be successful. And we don't know that. All right, but getting on. Now, I talked about the nature of happiness. Now, the nature of our purpose, and what I said about happiness is that the nature of happiness is an emotion, and it is temporary. Just the opposite of the purpose. Your purpose is long-term and often tied to meaning, identity, and our contributions. Our purpose is often tied to meaning, which something has to have some meaning to us. Identity, which we become part of that identity, just like a title. When a doctor becomes a doctor, his profession is a doctor, and he's skilled at the human body and all the anatomy and all these things that they're trained for. But his title becomes doctor. His or her title. So it's tied to that identity and the contributions that they can make. No one, I don't know anyone who wants to be in a situation where they're skilled at something and they make no contribution to the world or to the people that they are around. It makes no sense to be skilled at something and not make any contributions using your skills. Now, the source for purpose comes from living in a way that matters deeply. The source of purpose comes from living in a way that matters deeply to us, even if it's challenging. Even if it's challenging. Purpose is tied to something that matters deeply to us. For example, a teacher mentoring a kid in a struggling community might face stress and long days, but they will still feel deeply fulfilled after all of that. So they don't necessarily have to be happy in their purpose. It has to have meaning to us. It has to have a deep meaning. Y'all want to add anything real quick? All
What I
right.
was actually gonna say was that, for me, And I don't know how many people struggle with this because a lot of people probably do. They just don't say anything. I haven't. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say I've given up or quit or anything like that. Cause no, I'm not a quitter. I fight every day.
You know what? You
What now?
talking about any task or something or quit? What?
I don't. I'm not a quitter with anything. I
Oh,
may
okay.
I may get kind of kind of. Sometimes I might get discouraged, and I got to pick myself back up. You know what I mean? But I don't. I'm not gonna even say that I have specifically found, what my purpose is. Um, Yet at 52 years old, because at this point that I'm at in my life, um, I'm not. I know that I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Like I'm struggling with, where I am in life, where I want to be. Like, do I fit there?
And
No, I
that's
don't.
natural.
Um, but a lot of people don't admit that. Some
Right.
people think
Right.
you're just supposed to find your purpose, and bam, I'm this and I'm that, and I've started out with a lot of things and said, you know what, this is it, this is what it's supposed to be, and this and that, and like in a matter of seconds or days or months, I feel like it changes, because I feel like I'm changing. We all have setbacks. We all have growth and things like that. So for me, I'm struggling with where my purpose is. For me, what my purpose is. Sometimes I even struggle with happiness. Because I be like, why somebody gotta be all damn happy all the time? Why they, like what's really going on? Because I have a lot of other things that I have going on mentally, spiritually. We go through spiritual warfare all the time. And lately, as I'm changing or as I'm evolving and things like that, I find myself in the midst of a lot of spiritual warfare, mental warfare, and things like that. So I can't even say I've reached a point where I can say I got my purpose in line. I'm aligned with my purpose, or you know what I'm saying? That do I really have happiness, or is it just something there that I'm using to pacify or put a band-aid on something? So
Well, I'm with you on that. The spiritual warfare is always going to be there. So I agree with you on that as far as anybody who's on the line. Spiritual warfare is a part of everything we do. And the spiritual aspect is what keeps some people from living in their purpose too. It's a very spiritual thing. I think we all change as people and grow and evolve. So I don't think that that's off either when you're talking about people changing and growing and evolving. And everyone uh, figures out their purpose at different times in their lives, if that makes sense. So it's not the same for every person. Um, and I think sometimes we as human beings, I'm speaking generally, we look for some special thing when sometimes it's right in front of us. Like that example Mr. G just gave about the teacher who feels fulfilled or doing what she does with her students or kids. We need all different types of people everywhere in all walks of life. I think I think your purpose, at least in my experience, your purpose gets revealed to you at some point, but you have to decide as a person, I think, whether you want to go for it or not, I think is really what it is. Because once you hit go, if you're really going for it, like LeBron James, I mean, he's 6'8", 260, but that don't mean he's going to be a good basketball player, right? Just like we just talked about. So once he realized that he loved the game, he had to go work it. He missed out on prom, probably. He missed out on pizza parties. He missed out on all the school dances and everything because he had to go to the gym, So, but if he didn't lock into that, we would have never heard of LeBron James. So I think it goes both ways for some people. There's some people who could be destined for greatness that just choose to. What about the good ball players from the hood that don't make it?
Right.
They're like, oh,
Right.
this guy was special. He didn't make it. Well, why didn't he make it? Because it's just what we're talking about. He didn't look at ball as a way out. He didn't look at it as a way to put his family on the map. So I think we as people have to accept that we're human. We're not perfect. We're all vulnerable. That's all fine. But at the same time, once we lock in, we got to develop that thick skin, develop that never quit mentality. It's like a pit bull. You just don't let go. I'll tell you, that's one of my traits, and that's why life with me, I'm relentless. I never, I'm like, I'm just relentless. I keep coming back. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of them guys in the fight. If you don't kill me, I'm gonna keep coming back. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm relentless, bro. So, yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, when we talk about, like, because we can only speak from experience, from our experiences, rather.
Sure.
And so for me, I have a problem being vulnerable. I have a problem, like when you say thick skin, yeah, I got that. I
Mm-hmm.
have a problem, you know, um, I don't know. I have a problem peeling off layers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that in order for you to get to the point where you get into your purpose and all that happiness and whatever, you got to let some of that go. But I've never been able to I've never been able to let that go or be able to peel back those layers. I've been told several times, like, damn, you just hard, you just this, you just that. But I don't know a way to be because I wasn't I wasn't taught that way. I wasn't I don't even know if the word is taught, but I'm not that way. I have a
Well,
hard
everybody is different, so it's okay. Not, as Keith just indicated, there are times where people will reveal certain things about themselves at different intervals in their life. A lot of people don't like sharing because there's so much distrust in the world, and there's so many experiences that are negative and detrimental. So all of that is quite understandable. But what we're talking about is where we show the difference between what happiness and what purpose is. Because often, and more often than not, people confuse the two. And my whole purpose of this particular topic is just to kind of shed some light so people can live their lives in a better, more fulfilled way with this understanding. Because if you think that you're fulfilling your purpose just because you're happy, you're misguided. Happiness comes in all kind of different forms. When we start talking about having this human experience in this life, right? The more we understand about ourselves and the more we understand about our emotions, and more important than that, why do we feel this way? If we start to understand these things, then we can have a more fulfilled life, a happier life, a life that's filled with purpose. Understand this, happiness is about how you feel in that moment. That's happiness, how you feel in that moment. Purpose is about how you live your life overall. Anybody can be happy at any given moment. Anything that can make you happy. You can smile, you can see a cartoon on television, you can watch a comedy show. There are all sorts of different things that can make you happy. There aren't a lot of things that's going to drive you to your purpose unless you understand it and believe it from inside. That internal force is what drives you to your purpose. How you feel about whatever it is you believe. Again, that's why you have so many different people who you think shouldn't have made it, and those who we thought should have made it did. We have many, many examples of that. People don't understand that when you're living in your purpose, then you're not going to be distracted by too many different things. And even if you are distracted, you're going to come right back to your purpose because that's part of your existence. Once you understand the reason you were created,
Yep.
the reason that you were born, and you couple that with the desire and the tenacity to go out and pursue it, then you get into understanding life. Otherwise, we're just going by the numbers. What we're doing, whatever makes us happy, we figure that's got to be part of our purpose because I enjoy it. And that's not the case. So you might be happy, but not fulfilled. So let me give you an example. You can be happy and not fulfilled, enjoying a comfortable lifestyle, but feeling empty on the inside. Listen, I remember when I was playing professional, and we all got the experience of having the mansions and having I don't know what happened. I kind of limped out for a minute. But anyway, we all got the experience of having the mansions, the Bentleys, and all those lavish, a whole different lifestyle. But at the end of the day, half of the members of the group, they were miserable. They sat in these big houses with no friends because they became alienated from their friends, and some of them, they didn't have family members. Even if they had family members, they didn't have close family members. So they had all of this money, but I go and visit. They be there by themselves, and you can look in their faces and see they aren't happy. So you can be happy. You might be happy, but not fulfilled. You might be happy because you've got accumulated wealth. You played on stages in front of 50,000 people. That might make you happy. But when those curtains close, you see what's really in their spirit and in their soul. Working hard toward a cause you believe in, and you could be facing many struggles. And at each hurdle, it might bring you, again, what is happiness? Happiness is temporary. So each hurdle that you cross, you may experience some degree of happiness. That doesn't put you toward your purpose. We often confuse happiness with purpose because our brains, now, knock on wood, stumping my foot, we often confuse happiness with purpose because our brains like short-term reward. We are built that way. We are built to get the immediate gratification. That's how we're built. So that's why we confuse happiness with our purpose. We're not concerned when we're being happy. We're not concerned with long-term meaning. We're not concerned with long-term meaning. When I first got into investments, what they used to say, you got to plan for, 5-10 years down the road. I wanted all the money right then. I wanted the success and all of that right then, as most people. It's not because I'm weird or anything. It's because we are built that way. So you have to have a discipline to go and accomplish goals that are long term. It's like mistaking a snack for a meal. Sure, it'll satisfy you at the moment, but it's not what sustains you. Your purpose is what sustains you. So you may get that snack and it'll satisfy you for the moment. It will quench that hunger for that moment, but it's not what sustains you. Now, let me give you this, drop these jewels. Here's how we usually confuse the two. When we chase pleasant feelings, the things that make us feel good, and call it purpose, that's the number one reason that we confuse happiness with purpose. When we chase pleasant feelings, and we know just because they're pleasant, as I indicated earlier, it doesn't mean that that's part of our purpose. But we confuse it because it brings us that instant gratification. We think if we're enjoying ourselves, it must be part of our purpose. Remember, happiness is only a temporary emotion or feeling. It's a burst of dopamine. We all have that in our bodies, just like we have adrenaline. So when we're happy, we get that burst of dopamine. Now, loving the thrill of buying something new, you might love buying something new. And you can easily assume, because that makes you happy, that shopping is a part of your purpose. Now, that may sound crazy, but some people believe that. And because I like buying things, I should be what they used to have back in the day. They probably still got those secret shoppers and people that shop for people. They had jobs that people really thought that, hey, I love shopping, so that's part of my purpose. Just because I like buying stuff. And it doesn't necessarily mean that. The other mistake that we make is mistaking success for fulfillment. Achievements bring pride and happiness, of course. When we accomplish something, and particularly if it's a difficult task, when we accomplish that task, it brings pride and happiness. But even so, that don't always match our deep values. Just because we achieve something, that doesn't mean that it matches our deeper values. If I'm selling drugs, I might make $100,000 that night. But if I'm Virginia Branch's son, who was taught, what's right and what's wrong, that may not fulfill me, even though that I was successful in selling, because my values do not match that. If my parents taught me, hey, you don't do those sort of things, and this is how you need to live your life, so it doesn't match. So that doesn't mean that I'm fulfilling part of my purpose. Now, another example is this. And I'm giving these examples, and I want to make them as simple and simplistic as possible for understanding. That's why I'm sort of extreme with what I'm saying. Let's say that you got promoted in a job that you really don't like or you really don't care about, but you got promoted. So you're going to feel some sort of happiness from the achievement. And the raise and the applause feels real good, right? And we can tolerate it because, hey, I'm going to subsidize my values because now I've got money. I'm earning more money. So this is a job that you don't even like. But you are happy. That dopamine, again, kicks in and you're happy for that moment. But when it's quiet and you're alone and you have to figure out whether or not I'm truly happy, whether or not it's part of my purpose, that's when you feel empty. You don't feel as successful as you did in that moment. Remember, happiness is about that moment. Purpose is about how you live throughout your lifetime. So those short bursts of happiness does not necessarily have to be part of your purpose. Now, it can be, but it's not automatic. And most people think it's an automatic response to be happy when you're pursuing your purpose. And anything that brings you happiness must be associated with your purpose. false. That is false. So we have to revisit that, and we have to understand the difference between being happy and what our purpose is. Now, here's another way. When we start equating comfort with something meaningful, when we start equating comfort with something meaningful, comfort brings steady happiness, but purpose often requires y'all not gonna like this one. Purpose often requires discomfort. Let me say that again. Purpose often requires discomfort.
Well, a lot of people not gonna like that because they feel like in order to fulfill your purpose and happiness or whatever, it's all supposed to be la-las and gumdrops. But you gotta have some struggle. You gotta go through something because once you get to that point, you have to be able to appreciate it. If everything just goes um I guess simple as planned or as easy as planned, you know, that's where we get people not appreciating things,
Absolutely.
like when you kid, you get those entitled kid. I can use kids because I work with them children every day. You know, you could tell those entitled kids, them, ooh Lord, you could tell them entitled kids that get everything without work, without struggle, without sweating, without trying, and you can only appreciate the rewards of everything if you've been through the struggle. I mean, I hear, we hear that term quite often, especially when we talk about different times in history. Oh, the struggle, the struggle, the struggle. You know what? You don't
Struggle is
appreciate
real,
it,
right?
huh?
What they say, the struggle is real, right?
Yeah, the struggle is real. I mean, I was out, and it's funny that you say that. I mean, I know Chunk Chunk. We call her
Yeah, yeah.
Chunk Chunk, y'all, but her name is Malia, and I was laughing because
That's your
today,
granddaughter.
yeah, my granddaughter. Well,
Right.
today I was looking through some pictures, and I had done her hair real pretty, y'all. And twirled the little ponytails, and she had the little baby doll curls are hanging, and that was earlier that morning. I'm gonna say, let's say I did her hair about 10 o'clock. By 10:05, the curls had started diminishing, and then by 10:10, it was a little frayed, and you had one was up here and one was down there. And by 10:20, it was all over the place. So I sent it to my boss. I sent all three pictures to my boss, and I said, well, this is how I started and this is how I ended. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the struggle is real, trying to keep it together, trying to get to the happiness or trying to work in that purpose. And I just thought that was something because I started out so nice with her hair, and I just thought, okay, we good today. Nah, that wasn't what it was supposed to be. So we got to get a little dirty when we diving into our purpose, diving into things we're supposed to be doing, or what is our true happiness, and what it can be our happiness for the moment, for the minute. And then a lot of people, when they get to that point where they're happy in the moment, you know they don't know how to be happy in the moment. They looking for the next moment to be happy, or the next this and that. And sometimes you just can't do that. You just got to be right where you are right then. So
You're exactly right. And I'll say this to add to that. Uh, if you're a good person and you're blessed to get what you want, when you pray and ask for all these different things that you want in your life, make sure that you pray for wisdom and guidance. Because once you get it in your hands, then you're in control. And with
yep.
that control comes a lot of responsibility. So you prayed for whatever it is you wanted. Now, at the same time, pray for the guidance so that you know how to use it and so that it's not overwhelming.
And Mr. G, the thing that you're saying about that, some people don't know what they're praying for because
Yeah,
they
that's
don't understand. You understand what I'm saying? Like when we get back to purpose and things of that nature, some people pray for things that they really don't want, or they pray for things that it's perceived that they should pray for, or what it is. So just like you just said, manifestation is manifestation. So now if you get that you prayed for, but you really don't want it, or you really don't want to follow through, well, now
right.
you see what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
there's so many angles to it. I like what you said. It's true. We should pray for wisdom, guidance, right? All those things, because if we're praying for that, whatever we get, if we're tapped in or learn how to tap in, the supreme architect and the spirit will show us how to use it. A lot of
Absolutely.
people think that using stuff a lot of times is us. No, you got to let the man control it. It's just, you're just a vessel, and you have
Absolutely.
to move
Amen.
in that way. And that's where the purpose part goes into what we're talking about. If you're
Right.
truly living in your purpose, you're a vessel, because he's now speaking through you, because you're doing and you're in the place that you're supposed to be. That's
Absolutely.
my perspective
Oh
anyway.
man, hey, you got goosebumps over here because you got to preaching there for a minute, man. That's exactly right. So I appreciate that because our viewers they needed to hear that, and I don't know what got into you to bring that part out, but that was very necessary at this moment in time, right?
Nothing
So
got into me. It's just like anything else. I'm driving and we spiritually tapped in. So it came to me. That's why I came, like, you know what I'm saying? So let me say it. It just came out like that. We off the cuff over here, all of us. So yeah, it's yeah,
oh
but
yeah,
no, but honestly, I think that's what a lot of people's problem is, and they don't realize it. They
right,
don't they haven't figured out for themselves, and only you as a person can figure it out. You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? I think that's the main thing. Some people, sometimes mentorship is cool, but your mentor can't tell you what to do or what to be. You have to go to them. It's like investment advice. If you go ask for investment advice, they're gonna ask you what's your goals, where you want to be in the next 5 years. Like you just said, if you say I don't know, just tell me what to do. Well, the financial advisor can't help you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I don't
Exactly.
know. I kind of just, I kind of just, look at things like this as, a pilot and a co-pilot. I did a reel the other day about that. We can think we in the driving seat, with a lot of things, but you gotta allow, the universe to take over and the universe to be the pilot. Now you can be the co-pilot because yeah, you gotta have somebody to direct you to where you're going, but you can't always pilot everything on your own. You gotta have some sort of direction um that you're going in, and you got to be able to listen. And when we step into our purpose and stuff a lot of times, and different things going on, we don't want to listen to the powers that be or to things around us, and we don't want to learn from the things around us. You just can't pick up and run with it. You got to be a sponge along the way. You got to allow somebody to allow you to pilot it, help you steer, and this, that, and the third. You can co-pilot all day, but you can't get there by yourself.
And also, you're absolutely right, DeJoya. Also, we are not responsible for our own destination. Our destiny, we are, as Keith said, we are vessels. See, here's another problem with people. When they accomplish something significant in their lives, they like to default to the fact that I did this. I was able to. Listen, you can't be successful by yourself. I don't care what you do. You're not in charge of your own life. The grand architect of the universe, he uses you as a vessel so that anything that you ask for, if you follow the will of God, then he will allow you to have it. But don't ever get it twisted that you think that you did it on your own, because we don't do anything our own, not in this dimension, not in this lifetime, not with our limited abilities. We only have 6 ways to know anything. That's through our 5 sensory perceptions and that innate ability to understand things because God has placed himself inside of us. So I see a lot of people make that mistake. They puff their chests out,
Yep.
out, when they have accomplished something great. And without God and without a team and without other people, even your parents, if they put you in an environment where you could prosper, or if they put you in an environment where you were able to see another day, you had food, you had clothing, you had shelter. I don't care what your background was like. If you are in any way successful today, they are partly responsible for that.
Right.
So I get offended when I see people thinking that they did something themselves. No, man, it takes a village.
and and
Every
and even with that, people, people get to that, to where they, to where they are, and then they start talking about, well, I don't need this, or you didn't, yeah, nobody
oh
ain't
yeah,
helped me get here.
oh yeah,
Be careful of that, because
be humble.
the same way you got there, the way you got there might have been easy, and it might have been on easy street, but baby, the road to the road to falling is a lot harder. Either, like my mama said, when I fell one day, I was running at the football field with my son. My son was on the field, and I took off running. If anybody know me, they know where my physical shape is, and that kind of took over me, right? Kind of took flight, and I hit that ground so hard, and I got up, and the adrenaline was flowing. Then about 2 hours later, my mama say, Princess, because she don't know if she Mexican, Jamaican, or whatever she is, whatever she chooses to speak at the time. She says, Princess, it really wasn't the fall that got you, it's the stop that hurt. So just remember all the time, bro, that thing hurt, and she made me so mad because she was Jamaican at that time. She's,
And when she was telling
Princess.
you the truth, that is the truth.
Yeah, she said, Princess, it really wasn't the fall that got you; it was the stop that hurt. So be careful, because that rise up there, that's easy street. You floating, you on cloud 99, but baby, that fall down when you hit it, it's hard. So people forget that so quickly. We are human, and that's a human quality to forget. Sometimes where you came from, or where the goodness came from. Don't do
Well,
that.
well, let me say this: choosing the easier path in life because it's pleasant instead of taking a challenging road that aligns with your true calling is a false sense of purpose. Let me
Right.
say that again. Choosing the easiest path in life because it's pleasant instead of taking a challenging road that aligns. We know this thing we're supposed to do. We know that we should do it, but we opt to take the easier way to get things done. That is a false sense of purpose, because you must take the road that leads to your purpose, no matter how difficult or challenging. You must take it because that is part of your purpose. The other thing we do, we assume consistent happiness means you're living your purpose. Just because you're consistently happy doesn't mean that you're living your purpose. You just happen to be around certain events in your life that bring you happiness, or you find your way to them, or you navigate to them. Real purpose includes struggle. Real purpose includes sacrifice. And sometimes it includes boredom, where you're bored out of your mind. Raising a child is deeply purposeful, right? But it's not a task that always filled with happiness. And you love your child, but it's not always filled with happiness. So happiness and purpose does not have a direct correlation, and they're not equally the same. Cultural messaging. Society often sells the idea that being happy is the ultimate goal in this life. That's what they sell. They have all the pretty, even the commercials where the lady is running through the field of flowers, and they're selling feminine products, and then she's so happy, in that time of the month. We know
That's an
that.
old commercial. Now you just told how old you were. That's an old commercial. Not
But
that we
that's
ain't
the
even
one that
finna
I
call that a
remember.
commercial. That's a commercial.
That's the one I remember. So we assume any source of happiness is part of our purpose, and that's what we need to define. We need to make sure people understand just because you're happy, it doesn't have to be part of your purpose, even though it can be, but it's not always part of your purpose. Happiness is a symptom of your purpose, and not the same thing. But here's the core problem. Here's the real problem. Happiness, and the problem is this, the misunderstanding of it. Happiness is a feeling. Happiness is a feeling. Purpose is direction. So write that down in your notes. Happiness is a feeling. Purpose is a direction. When we confuse the two of them, we risk living for the next emotional high instead of building a life that deeply aligns with who we are. Let me repeat that. When we confuse them, we risk living a life for the next emotional high instead of building a life that deeply aligns with who we are. Just like taking the easy way, baby. Ain't no need taking the easy way when you know that you should take that crooked road instead of the straight road. You know that you should go to the back instead of the front. It's easier. So since it's easy, guess what easy does? Easy brings happiness. It brings that short-term reward. So we feel that it's part of our purpose, which is absolutely false. All right. I'm going to let y'all have the last word, then I'm going to go ahead and close it out. But this has been very, very interesting and very informative. And man, I love talking about these sorts of things because I know that people live their lives in a state of confusion, and some don't even care because they don't think it affects them. But everything you do affects you. Everything that you know and don't know affects you. So the more you know, the more effective you can be in this life. But you all got the last word.
I'm just gonna say, my purpose has changed so many times, and it continues to change, by the millisecond because I work with kids. I'm a person of service, and I serve with my whole heart. So I don't fight it. I don't fight what my purpose is at that moment. And even though happiness is a feeling, I enjoy it when I do have a chance to feel that way because with the profession that I'm in and the direction that my life is going, it just changes it changes in any minute, and I have to find happiness, wherever I happen to be at that moment. So I just hope that people got that from this live. Find happiness where you are within the moment, within the millisecond. The size of an atom, if you think about it that way. There's happiness in the smallest of things, and
Absolutely.
don't be afraid if your purpose, you feel like you're supposed to be this place in this minute, and the next 5 minutes you're somewhere else. Just take that, and you got to meet it where it's at. And I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank y'all for tuning in, switching over with us, or whatever. And I love y'all, and I will be here next week, same time, same place, same page.
Absolutely. Keith, you got anything you want to add real quick, boss?
Just pray for wisdom, people. If you don't understand your purpose or don't know, just pray for wisdom, but also understand that this is very bound alive that if you are living in your purpose or you're going in a certain direction, don't gauge your progress from a human perspective. This is another lie we could talk about. Faith is an action word. You can't see, taste, touch, smell, or hear faith. Faith is an action word. So if you're moving in a certain direction, you got to be careful how you gauge it, good and bad, because it may not be based on faith. I'm speaking in general. I can't, everybody's faith is different. Their faith level is different. Bible says you got to have a faith of a mustard seed, right? So just start there, guys.
Amen. Amen. Very well said, both the Joya and Keith. But in conclusion, as I said, happiness is a temporary emotion and it is not the same as your purpose. If we put it simple, happiness feeds the heart for today. Purpose feeds the soul for a lifetime. We thank y'all for joining us. I'll be the same. Au revoir, au may, and we will see you all next Wednesday, same time, same place, location. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And I hope you enjoy this. And we'll have it up on our Facebook here shortly. I don't think we can post it up on TikTok because it's longer than an hour. But if you were here, we hope that you got something good out of it because we most certainly felt good bringing you this information. So take care, and we will see you all next Wednesday.
And
Take care.
he said all that. I say bye.
Bye, girl.